Welcome to Affordable Housing Matters. I'm Norman Robinson. You know, the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana have both been promising more affordable housing for the residents in this and other Louisiana communities. On today's show, we will discuss what they have done thus far to fulfill those promises. We have an informative show planned for you, so don't go far.
When I got the opportunity to get her, there wasn't no choice. I told myself, I'm going to take custody of my daughter. It's my baby. That's what we're supposed to do as men, take care of our home, build a foundation, you know what I'm saying? Love, our money, she's my purpose. I'm here to walk with her, hold her hand until she can walk alone. Ain't nothing like being a father in this world.
Housing NOLA is a 10-year partnership between community leaders and dozens of public, private, and nonprofit organizations working to solve the New Orleans affordable housing crisis. Data indicates the need for 33,600 additional affordable units in the city by 2025, a little less than 4 years from now, if my math is correct. Here now to discuss the progress of this partnership is Ms. Andreanecia Morris, who's the Executive Director of Housing NOLA. Welcome back to Affordable Housing Matters.
Thank you so much, Norman. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. This is an issue that never seems to escape us. We've been talking about this for how long?
Well, it's one of the reasons why we have a whole show. You have a whole show about this. So we're glad that the issue has finally gotten this kind of attention, and we do need to get headed in the right direction, yes.
Let me jump off from the start. You have this thing called lawmakers must put housing first to ensure a just recovery from the pandemic.
Right.
Let me read something for you off the top and get your reaction. Housing advocates say the federal government's decision to extend the eviction moratorium for another month, while a short sigh of relief, is a clear indicator that lawmakers are not doing their job getting the money out fast enough to those who need it most. So, this is not just an issue of lack of funding.
No, it's not. Not now. A year ago, we weren't having federal resources deployed and direct explicitly for housing. The state of Louisiana actually could have taken COVID relief dollars that we got in the summer of 2020 and used some of that money for housing. We chose not to. But now we have about $500 million just for rental assistance just in Louisiana. And they haven't gotten 10% of it out the door.
Just in Louisiana?
Just in Louisiana, almost $500 million just in Louisiana. And they haven't gotten $50 million out the door at the various levels. When you talk about New Orleans has got direct money, St. Tammany's got direct money, state of Louisiana's got direct money, and they haven't gotten $50 million out the door. Some of that money's been in bank accounts in city and state controlled coffers since February of this year. So
the question bears asking, is this just a matter of just not caring or what? What is it?
It is what we've been talking about. It is the apathy that is caused by systemic racism and the bias associated with this issue. It's the only thing that makes any sense. Why would we accept, and I have not seen during COVID any other set of federal resources, any other set of public resources be delayed like this, and there is no outcry, not from our legislators at any level, and no effective outcry, right? So when our legislators are going to go back an unprecedented move and have a veto session to talk about overruling things so people can carry guns in their purses, but
without a permit.
But they are not talking about why $500 million is still sitting and people are still being evicted every day in this state.
Well, I'm wondering, is that money exclusively for affordable housing? It's
exclusive for rental assistance.
So
it can't be used for anything else except admin costs for contractors who are not getting the money out the door. We can pay their bills as they don't get the money out the door, as we saw in Jefferson Parish, where contractors billed almost $1 million and hadn't gotten half that out the door.
Yeah, I think they had a third of that.
Yeah, the
out
contractors
door.
were fired.
The contractors, yes. I saw that story.
Yeah. And now they're investigating. Again, where was this concern in, again, this was money that Jefferson Parish had since February, March of this year. So where was the concern around this in April and in May and in June?
So how much can we factor, I hesitate to say this, but it just seems so uncanny to me that this would be an issue where the funds are there. Are we talking about, apathy and incompetence?
A combination, yeah. And again, the fact that we accepted, that we accept from our leaders this level of apathy and incompetence around this issue. We don't accept this in anything else. We only accept it as it relates to affordable housing.
So that leads me to my next question. Who's hardest hit?
In Louisiana, it's black and brown. It's African Americans who are the hardest hit on this issue. That's why.
And you're clear on that. You have no compunction about saying that.
No compunction at all. That's what the numbers tell us. Those are the folks who are struggling the most. And this is the insanity of systemic racism, because it does get to white people eventually, because white people are also struggling. Mm-hmm. Because where white people are struggling is a lot of them disproportionately own properties. And so as landlords, they are struggling. They are being impacted by this as well. And we have been working very hard to bring landlords into the conversation. And they have shown up. But they are appalled at how they are being ignored. Right? Again, if you have a good NIMBY issue, and they'll show up and say, I want to oppose affordable housing, I want to oppose zoning in my neighborhood. Our leaders seem keen to hear that. But when it comes to this, those same community folks can't get their phone calls returned. They can't get their issues addressed.
So it seems to me that if you have no champions in the political,
no effective. We've got people who care about this issue, but they have just not been able to get.
Okay, so what's the difference?
The difference, whether or not if you're the only voice, if you're the only voice in the delegation, if you're the only voice in legislation, if you're the only person saying, and you don't have any direct control, we've got to get a coalition. That's why the upcoming elections are so important. The fall elections, particularly with city council, we have got to get. And we've got to hold the mayor accountable for her commitments. These are things that she can change. So
she is the, I guess she is the chief,
right,
mover on this issue.
On this issue in New Orleans, yes.
On this issue in New Orleans.
That's right.
Okay, so since we're there, let me ask this question: on a scale of 1 to 10. With 10 being the highest number, what number would you give her on this issue?
On this issue?
Yeah.
We'd give them, they did a really good job last year. They didn't have a lot of money because we didn't get a lot of direct assistance. So the program that they launched last year with partners, got the money out really quickly, we were holding it up as a model. So we'd give them probably a 6 on that part because we wanted the city to do more, right? And so now we give them a 2, and so we'll weight that and say they get about.
So what's the? Well, they did 6. That's pretty good last year.
That's last year.
Okay,
yeah.
And you're giving them a 2 for their efforts this year.
Oh yeah.
What happened?
We're not sure what happened. That's one of the things that when we were trying to get them more money for their program, their very successful program that they ran last year. We said, this is a really well-run program. We just need to give you more money. We need to get you more capital. And that's why they get a 6, because we wanted the mayor to be creative about looking for other dollars, like looking at the money that the convention center was sitting on and saying, can we get some of that money to help hospitality workers who've lost their jobs, many of whom are in the gig economy and don't qualify for unemployment. So maybe you can help them with some of that money. That's why it's a 6 instead of an 8 or a 10 for a really good program, because they didn't push hard enough to get additional dollars. And they also didn't do some other things that we asked them to do, like do an executive order to do end a source of income discrimination. We've got about 1,000 voucher holders who can pay rent, who can't find housing because landlords are discriminating against them because they're using vouchers. So we asked for that as well, and they didn't do that. The administration didn't do that.
Isn't there an agency that handles that, though, housing discrimination? Like, isn't that HUD's job?
Well, it's not illegal to discriminate against someone because of who's going to help pay their rent.
Oh, I see.
Even though it is a form of discrimination, it is not one that is currently, it's not a protected class on our books. It can be made a protected class, and that's what we asked the mayor to do in light of this unprecedented catastrophe, in light of the fact that she was calling on people to shelter at home, that she needed to do whatever was necessary to make sure that people could have a home. So make landlords think and say, well, why am I refusing guaranteed money? What is so broken in me that I would refuse guaranteed money? What we were asking the mayor and her administration to help racists take off their blinders and come and pick some money up and help New Orleans families.
So what was the answer to your question?
We didn't get an answer. Radio silence on that one.
Radio silence?
Radio silence.
Meaning that was
no response, no follow-up. We talked about, hey, can you also, we would like to pilot a program, and we did that to talk about, again, getting people to take the blinders off and getting short-term rental operators whose properties were vacant to rent to the homeless. And we talked to them about that a couple of times, delay after delay after delay. It cost us, we waited a month deploying dollars that we had expressly for this, trying to work with the administration to no avail. So we just went ahead and did it ourselves.
So you did it yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good question to pursue. Can't you just do a lot of this yourself?
Well, we don't have a lot of money for those kind of things. We're a nonprofit, and so while there were people who were interested, and we've been really successful in getting investments for some of our ideas, so that, particularly because we're a watchdog group, and so we want to test and pilot ideas, and we've been very successful in getting support for that. But we do need the government partners who we're testing these ideas for to internalize them. And when that doesn't happen, because they do have the resources, that is one of the challenges around housing, is that it's something that we can actually address, right? There's not enough money in the current system, but the money that is in the current system is being badly managed, is one of the big problems. When you've got 1,000 vouchers, that's a systemic problem. When you've got millions of dollars sitting in the bank, that's a systemic problem. And we address those issues, and then we can go off and get more money. And so that's what we've been trying to do with our partnerships, is work these things through, talk to community, hear what they need, and pilot these programs that can become a part of a new system, a system that accounts for the basic need and looks to guarantee housing for all.
Well, as a person who has been a news reporter for a number of years in this town, a lot of it has to do with personality. Are there personality issues where you're concerned?
I imagine so. No one said anything to me directly, so you can't. You can only go on what you know. You know how thin-skinned. Again, as a reporter, you know how thin-skinned the average elected official can be. And so people don't like to be told that they're not doing a good job, even when they're not doing a good job, which I find particularly confusing. It would be one thing if it was unearned criticism, but the facts speak for themselves. And we do hear from a lot of people that at various levels that, why can't there be an effort to not even be more collaborative? Because again, I just laid out for you that we go out and raise money to design ideas, to work with government officials to help them address their problems, and we can't be any more collaborative than that.
How about, let's use another word, diplomatic?
Oh,
Does that work?
We can be very diplomatic. I can be very diplomatic. But we also are not going to gaslight community. Okay. That's the line, right?
And you see a lot of gaslighting?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. When we talk about hearing statements about the fact that the City of New Orleans' program is the best-run rental assistance program in the state, that is true, but that is nothing to brag about.
Oh, I see. Everything is relative.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's like, yeah, that is true.
So what about all of the organizations who are tasked with trying to resolve this issue? It's like there's the local affordable housing organizations, the Neighborhood Development Foundation, New Orleans Redevelopment Authority. What about some movement created by all of your partners and a mass demonstration?
Well, we've done that. We've done that. We've started an initiative called Put Housing First. Yeah. One of our partners is a C4, so it can lobby and do electioneering. And we're going to be ramping up those efforts even more ahead of this coming election, including introducing a PAC, a Political Action Committee. So we are doing that because we do need to talk about accountability. But again, that's not something people. You talked about thin-skinnedness. That's not something people like hearing. But again, working collaboratively, we're not seeing the results, and so community has to take control. Community does have power in this situation. And that does include holding people accountable, meaning maybe you don't get my vote for re-election around this issue, and someone else takes your place who is held accountable. We also have to make sure that elected officials don't think that they can just do something theatrical or something superficial,
something dramatic, for a photo op.
For photo ops to earn people's votes. Because again, it's hard, right? Because the community members that we're talking about, the folks that we're talking about, and again, this is not lower class, it's people who are struggling every day to make ends meet. About half the people who live in New Orleans can't afford their rent, can't afford their housing costs.
We're talking a big number.
That's a big number. So it's hard to say to people, well, yeah, like we need you to show up to this meeting and to this meeting and to this meeting and to this meeting. To play whack-a-mole because there's so many. It's bleeding amorphous, right? How big this system is, and it's part of our job to cover it and to be in all of those places. Community has to be more surgical, and that's why we're focusing on when they show up at the ballot box.
So this is going to be an issue that you're going to push hard during this campaign, election campaign.
Absolutely.
So how are you doing that? Are you putting together commercials or
yes, we're going to be looking at all of those education pieces, the commercials. We're going to be doing candidate scorecards. So again, ranking candidates on their record and their commitment to putting housing first and to whether or not they can put people first.
Okay. Well, we had you rate the mayor. We had you give the mayor a rating on the affordable housing issue, and I'm going to ask you the same question about the governor. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, what number would you give the governor on the issue of affordable housing?
A 2.
A 2 as well?
A 2. Well, oh yes, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
And you're very adamant about
that. Absolutely. No, the governor has been terrible on this issue.
Really?
Terrible. When he ran for re-election, he got a D. From the Put Housing First scorecard. And last year, the city of New Orleans got an F on affordable housing. So these are not new issues. But consistently, the governor has not been an ally in this issue. From what the Louisiana Housing Corporation, under his governorship, has denied tax credits to the city of New Orleans every year except last year. Right, we got our first tax credit deal in 5 years with him as governor. And so effectively redlining New Orleans. This is something that John Bell Edwards' Louisiana Housing Corporation has been doing to New Orleans. The mess that was the fact that there was no affordable housing funding being made available out of the first pot of CARES Act money that went to the state of Louisiana. That they didn't push on anything, that they didn't push to get any money moved. And the biggest sin that we lay at his feet is the fact that they launched a $24 million program last July for rental assistance. That was after we did analysis, 2 sets of analysis that said we needed $1.1 billion to get us through July of this year, or $500 million to get us through December of 2020. He launches a $24 million program They get 40,000 inquiries in less than 72 hours, shutting the program down. And 6 months later, they hadn't spent 10% of the money.
Do they have the administrative staff to handle it?
Yes, they hired a contractor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they hired it. They farmed it out. But it's again, it's about accountability. If you are not engaged around this issue, if you're not paying attention to this, again, can you imagine? I can't articulate how distressing it is to we saw the governor make that comment, and we said it immediately. We said this isn't going to work. The program was badly designed. We told them that. We made that comment publicly, and said this is not going to work. And now that money, and it was part of our argument about the fact that that team should not have been entrusted with the new money, because we said, okay, they can't manage $24 million. This is $300 million. Are they going to get better at managing almost 10 times the money? And and again, this is proven, and it's again one of the reasons why we insist on no gaslighting, right? We can have these conversations privately, but when community really does need to understand. People need to understand. Other decision makers need to understand what's happening. That this is not simply a one-off. This is systemic.
Well, who has the governor's ear? I mean, it's important that you have somebody who's an advocate for you.
Right.
And you said that you have some lawmakers who are who are in your corner in terms of seeing this issue satisfied. So what lawmaker can you guys depend upon to go and advocate for you?
I don't think that they may have the governor's ear on other issues, but not on this one. The reason the governor gets a 2 instead of a 0 is that we did, and we're still grateful for the fact that he issued a veto in 2018 of a bill that would have stopped the smart housing mix, which went live July 1st, from going into effect. That's why he gets a 2, because he did that one thing. And so that was a coalition of partners who pushed on that issue. It was, you had, people like the municipal associations, people saying, listen, the state shouldn't be telling local governments what to do. It was less of a housing issue and more of the state can't be overreaching like this, as well as a housing issue for us and some of our partners. That was the last time we got a good result out of the governor's office.
So you mentioned something about a municipal association.
Yep.
Are they with you on this particular endeavor that you're trying to push through now?
So we haven't actually. That's a really great idea. The Louisiana Municipal Association is not a group that we normally work with, but it is. But again, they tend to represent the municipalities, and the problem right now is the municipalities are doing a bad job managing the money.
Well, maybe they can light a fire under the municipalities, since they are a municipal association. It seems to me...
We're always looking for better partners.
Yeah, it seems to me that there needs to be an expanded list of partners here, and specifically somebody who can really turn the heat up on this issue.
We do need to do that, and again, that's part of the issue is that the right people don't care about this issue in the way that we need them to.
Well, how do you make them care?
That is the question for the ages, because we see this connected to everything, right? It's connected to crime. It's connected to education. It's connected to health outcomes. We saw COVID deaths increase when we had no protection for eviction. That's been scientifically proven by researchers that people who've lost housing during this pandemic, that housing insecurity increased your likelihood of contracting and dying from COVID. And again, it's a really tough issue for us to understand, like, what's going on when you have the mayor and the governor said, stay home, shelter at home. They didn't say go to work to fight COVID. They didn't say go to a hospital to fight COVID. They didn't say go to school. They said you got to stay home. And then they did not do enough to make sure that everyone who is their constituent, everyone who they are responsible for, could do that.
Well, yeah, it's like shelter at home, but what if you don't have a home? where do you shelter?
Right.
Under the overpass?
That's not. I mean, and again, one of the things that makes the evaluation of the city and the state so different now is that they're ignoring other resources, right? Mm-hmm. There are federal resources that would house every homeless person in hotels.
Yeah, let me ask you about that, because I understand from one of the homeless eradication agencies that they're having difficulty with the governor's department that handles this.
That's right.
That they can't get FEMA to sign off on it because the governor's not pushing it.
That's right.
That's still the issue. That's still an issue.
Since this has been something that President Biden changed, former President Trump actually put the policy in place where states and municipalities will be reimbursed 75%. Mm-hmm. Again, I think that's a steal at twice the price. Mm-hmm. But President Biden, on his second day in office, amended that executive order and made it 100% reimbursable and retroactive. So if you had already tried to help your folks, mm-hmm. you would get all of your money back. It's the federal government. It takes a while for the money to get in. But again, this is where we talk about the commitment, because Louisiana should be finding this money, making it available, and then getting it back. And it's a win-win. You can help hotels who have vacancies, who are struggling, who want to participate in this program. We don't need every hotel room in the state, right? Again, people go, well, certain hotels wouldn't want to do it. Yeah. Then we don't work with them.
Makes sense to me. We're running out of time, but I want to have you back because I really want to explore this, and especially the part about expanding the coalition.
Yes, no, that's a great idea.
To turn up the heat.
Yeah.
But it's always an informative session with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for always covering this issue, keeping this.
We're going to stay on it. After all, this show is called Affordable Housing Matters.
That's right.
All right. We'll have more Affordable Housing Matters right after this break.
Get along down the road. We got a long, long way to go. Scared to live, scared to die. We ain't perfect, but we try. Get along while we can. Always give love the upper hand. Paint a wall, learn to dance. Call your mom, buy a boat, sing a song, make a friend. Can't we all get along?
We would like to thank Ms. Andreanecia Morris again for joining us today on Affordable Housing Matters. Also, if you missed any episode, please search the WLAE-TV YouTube page to catch up on any shows you may have missed. I'm Norman Robinson, and we'll see you next time on Affordable Housing Matters.